Welcome to Black Power Therapy.
Okay, I got the Black Power Dream Team on the line right now. We're gonna talk little bit about the imagery and the sensory of all the murdering and killing that's going on today. Especially like we just had the little baby, get hit and ran over and killed, and two people got murdered right there on the scene, and then plus we had another brother just chased down and shot right in the middle of the street and murdered. And the words that was coming out the police mouth was, F your breath and stuff like that. So we're with the Dream Team right now. We're just chopping it up, y'all. And so, fellas, y'all, one at a time, y'all tell me, I guess I'll go ahead and start off with you, Mr. Moore. Tell me how you feel about the sensory and the imagery that's going on out here.
Well, we talked a little bit about this earlier, and I think it's always a weird place to be in, because when you think about sensationalizing the imagery that's out there, you don't want to provide the image because you don't want to sensationalize it. I actually was on Facebook the other day, and it was putting out an image, and the person commented and said, "I don't want to like this. I don't like this. I don't want to like it," even though you want to show the support for the person who's put the image out there for whatever the situation is. That's the way to show the support. But sometimes the like button on Facebook isn't adequate. I don't like what I'm seeing. So we feel like in this society, in this day and age, we torn between sensationalists and just people putting the message out there. So we have to make a decision about how we're going to provide the imagery or capturing the essence of what it is the message we're trying to get across, and not becoming sensationalist and just putting it out there for the sake of shock and awe. But in the same breath, the images are valuable. We can't detract away from the images and think that they're not valuable, because they are. Because some people choose not to see these things. So when you make it come across their computer screen or make it come across their TV, they speak to a realization that they might not have had, and maybe that person is the activist that'll help advocate for change in some of the things. Maybe that person has a lot of power and is advocating for change but doesn't see the images. So it's always a double-edged sword when it comes to sensationalizing the images that are out there about violence against any people. But what's been more prevalent, obviously, is people of color being violated against people of perceived power, and not putting that imagery out there. So, man, I'm torn between the two. I don't know what to think, whether or not to say, hey, put the images out there, or let's just put the audio out there, or let's discuss the issue, because we also don't want to just have the perception that we're just complaining about this issue. What is it that we're doing? Because even voicing your opinion, obviously, is not enough. It's just not. So, sometimes that imagery gives somebody a little bit more oomph to what they're saying, or so it's definitely like I said, a double-edged sword. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, but I know there's definitely some contrasting issues, and I think they all provide some sort of value.
Well, if I must inject real quick, like like we was discussing at the last meeting we had, and back in the slavery days, the slave masters, they would take the slaves, the ones that try to run away, they would take them and put them in front of everybody and massacre them around, and and torture them, let the dogs eat them and everything. And this type of imagery, this sensory, created some sense of fear of some sort. Brother Randall, can you kind of highlight on that a little bit?
Well, I wanted to kind of piggyback on something that Philip said just now when we're talking about the sensationalism of the images. You're talking about the imagery,
yes.
And I believe that the imagery is necessary. I believe that what we are seeing is just what has always been there. I don't think that there are any less people of color being harassed or stopped more often or being mistreated than there have ever been. But with the advent of the internet And with this 24-hour news cycle that we have, this situation where everybody's got cameras on their phones now, when the police show up for lunch at McDonald's, we got our cameras on them. And they need to understand that climate has changed. Now, we've seen this movement. You know, there's a movement going on. It's the same type of situation that we see this gay rights movement that has blossomed now into same-sex marriage, and you better not try and discriminate against them. We see these states who are all lining up to say you can't discriminate. But for a long time, they did discriminate against the gays and beat them up and did a whole bunch of other things to them. And now the tide is kind of changing. I believe that we're going to see not that it's okay that these images are out there or that they may or may not be sensationalized, but as the statistics are beginning to show, not just in Ferguson, but in cities around our country, there's some people and people of color who are
We're losing you, Randall.
Brother Randall, we lose you, Brother Randall.
Okay, we're trying to, the policemen are taking turns seeing who can get the most tickets against people. The emails that are coming out, the jokes that they're making, just this undercurrent. See, for a long time, we've been telling white America this stuff has been going on. We've known it all the time, but now it's becoming evident to everybody. They obviously, there's a disconnect somewhere between how they feel. See, they don't see us as being equal to them. And I think that carries a lot. I don't know that they inordinately are pulling us or shooting us in order to send a message to anybody. I think there was a time in maybe slave times where that was done to put the fear into the everybody else, don't run or don't fight us or this is what will happen to you. In this particular instance, I see the police is not seeing us as being worth running behind. I see them orchestrating, even with the videos that we've been seeing. The narrative from the police has been standard. It's their fault, not ours. When we began to look at what the policeman wrote,
You're breaking up again.
He's fabricating their story, their narrative. That's the one that the press picked up, the one that the police were putting out. Then the video came out. And see, had the video not come out, then more than likely, like usual, that narrative would have been accepted. Philip, I agree with you that there are some individuals who are going to seek to sensationalize these images, but it's just the fact of the matter. You know, the fact of the matter is that they are inordinately stopping us. The fact of the matter is that there is an undercurrent of either racism or some type of ism going on in law enforcement toward people of color. And these things just seek now to continue to reiterate the situation. I don't know, I mean, whether it's Michael Brown or that brother who got shot or the people who got killed today or the ones that's going to get killed tomorrow. This is not going to stop anytime soon. But the covers are being pulled back in a way I think that has never been done before. Well, and I think some changes are going to happen. If we look at Ferguson, we'll see that not only did the police department get disbanded, but they have voted half of the people off the city council who was white people that was on there. Half of the city council is black now. And that's what it's going to take. All these shootings and all that stuff is only the symptom of something else. So getting into these legislatures and voting some of these people out is going to be how we're going to fix this thing. Having our offspring be better advised and better trained, better grown, however you want to put it, to not put themselves in positions where they cannot hold office because for whatever reason they disqualify themselves or been disqualified. This has got to be where our fight is. We learn the movie Lynch. We learn that this is a system that they want to perpetuate with our offspring. They have been clear to us they're not after us. They're not after me anymore. I've already been broken. They're not after you anymore. You've already been broken. They're after your daughter. They're after your son because they want this thing to continue. And if we don't attack in that area, I think, then we won't be able to. Because, like I said, it's not us they're after.
Well, okay, Brother Randall. I guess now, I know you guys remember this. You remember when we first seen those imagery of Rodney King getting beat by all those policemen? That really shocked us all when we seen that, because we didn't even know that taping was that good back then. We didn't even know it can even be done like that. You know what I mean? And it has came a long way. So absolutely, the imagery is a must. We need to see it, because if we didn't see that beating of Rodney King, they would have lied and said that they didn't even do that. That he resisted arrest and everything. So I mean, it helped us understand that we're not doing everything wrong. It's that we're seeing that the wrong is being done to us.
Well, certainly there's wrong being done to us. Now, to what extent? We've always said, if you talk to them guys where Rodney King was beaten, they'll tell you that cops beat us all the time. You know, y'all just got it on camera this time. This is basically what's being said by the black and the people of color, that the police have been doing this to us all the time. We just finally are able to put it out in such a way that you can't dispute it anymore. You can't look the other way anymore. Your eyes cannot not see what these policemen are doing, and as a result, you're going to be forced to have to do something. You know, so as I said before, I think we're in a pendulum swing now, where just like there were a lot of gay rights and a lot of rights and things that gays did not have, being discriminated against, I think we're in that same type of cycle with people of color. I think white America is going to have to see that we have not been doing all the wrong. Now, certainly there are legitimate concerns about our participation in crime in this country. You know, there is a reason why the police are always in the black neighborhoods, and we need to address those issues, but that might be for another conversation if we're only talking about the imagery of what we see going on and not how we participate in it or contribute to it. And that's maybe another question for another time.
Yeah, yes. So what's your perspective on that, Brother Moore?
Well, I think it's something interesting. As I'm listening to Randall talking, I'm thinking to myself about a book that I read called The Nexus and the Olive Tree by a gentleman named Thomas Friedman, who's actually from Minnesota. He's a Wall Street Journal Middle East correspondent, and he works on TPT. And in the book Globalization, he talks about the democratization of information, which is basically we've come, and with the information age, we've come to a point where all information has the capacity to be disseminated amongst all people. Yes. There was huge democratizations that happened in our society, one of which was the democratization of utilities. Ma Bell. When Ma Bell got disbanded and they made, AT&T split up into all of these different companies to not have a monopoly, that was a democratization of utilities. There was a democratization of some other things as well, but the most important to our future, I guess it's arguable, is the democratization of information. Now, the democratization of information occurred just around the information age, just around 1990 or so, when people started using the internet. They started, they started having access to information that wasn't just via reading books or the newspaper or news. They had access to more information. As if you can remember back in the day, If you didn't go to a library or watch the news, you didn't know what was going on.
Exactly.
There was no updated information that you could get. The breaking news was the news. So now we have real-time, up-to-date, accurate, unbiased, and objective information that we're being bombarded with.
Yes.
Constantly. Whatever. If you see something that happened on television or something that happened on, if I look on TV and look on the news and see the story about the man getting shot, I can go on Facebook and I'm going to see 3 different angles of the story, 3 different perspectives. Mother, the wife, I'm going to hear everybody's perspective on it. So when we talk about this imagery, I think, and like I said, my original point of it was I didn't know whether it was good or whether it was bad, and I think I stepped back on that point and realized that it's good. I guess it's just like with anything else. It's good to the effect of the user. So if you use it in a good way, then it's a good thing. If you use it in a bad way, it's a bad thing.
Right.
But I think what the most important thing to piggyback on what Randall said was we have to understand that the powers that be, the people who oppress people of color to their benefit, always are after the next generation. They are not after the current generation. The current generation has already been brainwashed.
Right.
The people that are of age with the oppressors have already been brainwashed. They have to figure out a way to get to the next generation. And the way to get to this next generation is through technology. It's through this democratization of information. 15 years ago, the democratization of information only extended to businesses, so in government. So now people are using it to say, oh, my God, I can see all the stuff that the government is doing. Or I can see all the details of business transactions, and I can get a mortgage online, and I can apply for a car loan and a credit card online. So businesses were able to take advantage of this democratization of information, but only in the last 7 years or so, since about 2006, have we seen the democratization of information stretch to the general public. And now everything is questionable because I can find out the truth about anything. There is no more cover-ups.
Exactly.
And I think that now and something that Randall said is the police will have to, the powers that be, who disregard the position of people of color and disregard who they are, will have to start being more observant of the democratization of information and realizing that they are forever being watched. That Big Brother does not, they don't have a veil over themselves protecting them from Big Brother. That Big Brother is watching you just like he's watching me.
Right.
And I think that, so to that extent, I think it's important that we get this imagery out so that they realize sooner than later that they better get on the bandwagon. Otherwise, they're going to be dealing with other issues that they have absolutely no control over.
Exactly.
It surprises me, and I'll say this, and I'll kind of close this thing out with this. My brother-in-law posted a video today. It was a while back. He posted it. I've seen it today on Instagram, and he's a security guard. So he posts, some people asked him what he did. He posted the images of his uniform. So he says, here's my bulletproof vest, here's my gun, my mace, here's my body camera, this, that, and the other. And the one comment that I said was, it's fascinating how you as a security guard have a body camera, but our police don't.
How about that?
Right.
How about that?
So
he has a body camera and a gun and a taser and mace and handcuffs. And our police, the people who are charged with our safety every single day, day in and day out, do not have a body camera. What is it that they are trying to hide?
Right.
Well, the other part of it too, and I just want to, briefly say that with the advent of these cameras, we need not think that these cameras are going to be a fix-all for what's been going on. It's going to give us a better ability to refute and to rebut some things, but I've been looking at the finances behind these cameras. Okay, so you buy these cameras at $1,200 or $1,300 a pop, and then the footage has got to be managed. So we don't have rules on the books right now that say who gets the footage first and who gets to handle the footage and where is it going to be stored, and when does a policeman get to turn the camera off? Does it have to stay on all the time? turn it off when he goes to the bathroom? What happens to the footage after so much time? Who maintains it? And, there's going to be a lot of other issues.
A suggestion, because I've been thinking about this issue very thoroughly. My suggestion, and I hope that this gets out and I'll push it, is that, because we obviously live in the information age, that when the police draws his weapon, there should be a mechanism in place that activates his camera automatically the moment he draws his weapon, or draws any weapon, a taser or his gun. That should be, and that information should automatically be sent, just as we do through First Transit. First Transit doesn't receive the images of our dash cameras. That information gets sent to a third party who analyzes the information and then determines whether or not it's valuable information to send to First Transit. But that information is, First Transit only has it from a third party perspective. We do not own that information, and that's exactly what should be done with police. You have a body camera on. When you draw your weapon, the body camera is activated. And once, in the moment that information, that body camera is activated, the information is recorded and sent to a third party for analysis to determine whether or not the police, the officer acted within the rights of the law, within the confines of the law. Now,
I agree. I agree with you, Philip. Being a customer of Metro Mobility and having ridden on the buses before, as you were saying just now, how the cameras, when you step on the brake too hard, the cameras will automatically come on their own. I would like to see the police not only when the gun is drawn, but when they arrive on scene. If I'm a police officer and I get a call, when I arrive at the address that where I'm supposed to be, my camera needs to be on right then. I think that if I interact with anybody on that scene or have an altercation, get into a fight, a scuffle with them, before I ever pull my gun, we're not going to do that part.
That's actually a really good, because what if I never draw my weapon, somebody shoot me in the head? For example, the two officers that were killed in New York. And I'm sure body cameras would have helped them, at any time. Here's the thing. Now check this out. They have equipment that that activates any time a shot is fired. I forget what the technology is called, but they have. You can go online and see anywhere that a shot is fired, and they tell you where a shot is fired. So the
acoustics. They map the acoustics of the shot.
Exactly. So that's another thing. We have the technology to be able to put police in better situations, because remember, in these situations, we as black men are sitting here talking about this issue from a bias perspective, because it creates a certain level of fear in us that if we get pulled over by the police going to Cub Foods and they do some stuff that's not legit and we call them on it, being intelligent black people, that they could take our life, and who knows. But in these situations, there are multiple victims. The person who got shot is not just a victim. The person who did the shooting is the victim, regardless of whether his intent was malicious or not. He still becomes a victim. He loses his family. He has to be subjected to the system. He loses his job. He loses his income. All of these things happen. So we have to remember that we aren't just the victims in this situation. We are the most dire victims in the situation, obviously, but we have to look at the solution from an objective standpoint and not look at the solution from a biased perspective. We have to be willing to protect the officers as well as protecting the public, because the officers are members of the public. So we can't just look at this as black men and say, well, they're killing black people. They are killing black people. You know what I'm saying? They are, but we have to be the humans. If they choose not to be, then we have to be the civilized ones. We have to be the humans and say, let's look at this from a unbiased perspective and make sure that we are doing everything in our power to protect all parties that interact with officers of the law.
Okay, well,
including the officers themselves.
So I guess on that note, the Dream Team, I guess you all agree that we should just tell the public to pull their cameras out and start using their cameras, and anytime they see anything going down, with officers of the law and innocent citizens or whatever it may be, pull your cameras out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Pull your cameras out, upload it. Let us see this raw data. You know what I mean? And let us draw our conclusion or perspective to it. And when y'all agree to that?
Yes, and I agree. And don't antagonize or agitate the police or the situation. Pulling your cameras out.
Right.
But absolutely pull your cameras out. Record them and let them know that I'm recording you, so hey, we don't make sure if this is a legitimate situation, you know what I'm saying? Because we know what's going on, but if you agitate, the police, obviously you put yourself at risk.
Well, and that's the thing too, because people don't know the laws. See, some people think that the police can just take your camera because you sit there recording it, and it's against the law. It's your property.
No,
they have to have a
well,
warrant.
suppose we were taught. Okay, Philip and I talked about this just the other day. Suppose we taught every child what to say to the police when they come in contact with the police. Suppose every child knew what their First Amendment right was and was able to say to the police officer, "Sir, am I being detained? Okay, I'm not being detained, so I'm going to leave now. According to my First Amendment rights, I don't have to give you my name or anything, or here's my card that has my information on it. They can put it up to the window." We can have legitimate classes being taught on what we need to do when the cops address us to make sure that we're always within our rights and that we never give them the opportunity to say that we were rude or that we, the reality is, and I hate to even say this because it's still not relevant to the man getting shot, but you don't jump off the car and run from the police. We need to address what we do. And had that boy stayed in the car with the other boy, the chances are good he would still be alive now. Anytime we make ourselves vulnerable through our own ignorance or through being hard-headed or not being willing, the reality is they have the guns and the badges. And as much as they misuse and abuse that power, they still do have it. And we are still subject to it. And we
every one of the scenarios. I apologize for interrupting, but I agree. In every one of the scenarios that we see a videotape when a police officer did some sort of wrongdoing and killed these young men, what you do see is them. You do see a level of ignorance in the knowledge of the law. If they operated completely within the parameters of the law, knowing their First Amendment rights, none of these things would have happened.
That's right.
From Mike Brown to the gentleman who got choked to the man who ran, all of these people.
Well, let me just step in on that a little bit too. I think the officers, they know that a lot of us do not know our First Amendment rights or know the law, and they use this type of tactic to create these hostile situations. You know what I mean?
That's how they enforce the law. The police officers are able to lie. They're able to coerce you. They're able to utilize. Listen to when they read you your Miranda rights, they tell you anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law.
Right.
They give you your rights. If you don't obey the first rule, you have the right to remain silent.
Keep your mouth shut.
If you don't obey that first rule, they already know that they can have the capacity to put you in a compromising situation where when the story leaks, it's going to be your word against mine.
That's right.
So you said, so basically, when the brother ran, we're not saying that he deserved to get shot because he ran, but we're just making a point that if he knew his rights, he did not have to run. You understand what I'm saying?
You don't run from the vehicle. If he knew his First Amendment rights with a taillight out, this is not a moving violation. This is a ticketable offense. It really isn't even a ticketable offense. It's your taillight is out. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have your license and registration? Well, officer, have I committed a crime? If I have not committed a crime, I don't have to present you my driver's license and registration. If my taillight is out, thank you for informing me. Am I being detained? No, officer. Well, thank you. I will get that taken care of right now. Thank you so much, officer. Have a good day. Because they can't arrest you. They can't detain you for no reason. They can't detain you because your taillight is out. So if he had known his rights, then he would have never exited the vehicle. And even if he did provide him license and registration, he could roll the window down an inch so he can hear the officer and the officer can hear him, handed him his driver's license and his insurance information, and said, thank you so much. Give me my ticket. I appreciate it, officer. You have a great day.
So this
we need that conversation.
So this goes back
to be taught these things.
So this goes back to what you were saying too, Brother Moore. You were saying that actually, we're being caught off guard. You know what I mean? Because if we actually knew our rights, we wouldn't be getting caught off guard like this.
Absolutely. I mean, how do you think pimps take advantage of young women? Because they're ignorant, they don't know. Pimps don't have 40-year-old hoes. Excuse my French.
Right.
Pimps don't have 40-year-old hoes. They know better.
But then
You only can take advantage of somebody who don't know. A person can only do to you what you allow them to do to you. So the more information we gather as people of color and oppressed people, then and once you openly say to the police officer and start to recite your amendment rights, whatever amendment that they're violating, they immediately step back. They immediately back up.
And like you said, if they got these cameras on and you spitting your rights, it's really gonna shut them down. You understand what I'm saying?
You should be recording. When they pull you over, you should be recording and saying, I am recording you. I know my rights. These are my rights. This is what I have. This is what you have the right to do. This is what I have the right to do. Am I being detained? No, officer, thank you. I'm going to leave now.
That's exactly right.
Then once you do that, trust me, every police officer in America, if you start reciting rights, and you are videotaping them simultaneously, and you are not in violation of being disrespectful, and you have not committed any crimes, they gonna let you go. They gonna tell you have a good day, sir, or they gonna call you out a bunch of names and try to provoke you to do something. But obviously, if you know that much, you won't be provoked.
Right.
And they gonna tell you to move around.
Right.
Don't let me see you around here no more.
Right. Well,
so we have to become knowledgeable. There have been 300 or so black men being killed by police officers.
Okay.
This isn't a new phenomenon. What's changed is the amount of information we have access to.
Right.
I say the statistic all the time to people that every day in the United States or in the world today, we take more than we're taking in the entire century. Every day.
Right.
They were taking the entire century of the 1900s. So every day. So it's not so much that black people are being killed at a higher rate. We are just being able to see it more readily, and that in itself will change things. It will change things. They will have to say we can't. They don't have to have a meeting, a good old boys meeting, and say that's right. You can't kill these boys like this no more. When you draw your weapon, you better not pull the trigger. If you do, it's going to be a problem.
Right.
They don't have to say there will be no more fighting for you. I can't fight for you no more. If you draw your weapon and shoot some unarmed man, you will go to jail for the rest of your life.
Right.
You see how fast they charged him. You see, before the sun went down, they had charged that policeman with murder and fired him. Now, if they had done some of those same things, because black people is just saying, if you kill us, you got to fall under the same category of scrutiny that we do. You are not above the law because you're a policeman and you've been operating that way. No. Now things are going to be more even. And, just like Philip said, with the advent of the media being the way it is, I don't have to go to ABC or NBC anymore to have my voice heard. People can upload my information directly. No more. Go ahead, Philip.
I was just saying I could upload my information directly.
Exactly.
And that's something I can upload it straight to YouTube.
Exactly. And that's something we didn't have before. Something can go viral and get picked up by the rest of the world or by the rest of the country. So, we are a voice to be reckoned with now. I can put some stuff on TV that'll have everybody looking and saying, what the hell? So, and that's something we didn't have before. So where the policemen were able to get away with certain things, there was that good old boy mentality of our word against theirs, and they always gonna side. But I always just say he reached for my pistol, reached for my baton, because ain't nobody to say he didn't do it because I shot him. And my word is
we talk about this all the time. Me and Randall talk about this all the time. One thing we know for sure. The three gentlemen that's on this phone right now know for sure that the last thing that you're going to do in your entire existence as a black man is reach for a police officer's anything.
No, that's right.
That's the last thing you're going to do in your whole life. I could tell you might shoot up a school. You might do a whole bunch of stuff, but I bet you ain't gonna reach no police officer's pistol.
Well, we got like 2 more minutes on the show, so what I'd like to do is I would like your last minute closing on this segment on imagery and sensory. I'm gonna start it off with Brother Randall. You got 1 minute.
Okay, so the only thing I really want to say is that keep the videos coming. Okay, because what that is called empirical data. Okay, and it's relevant. So it's not a matter of sensationalizing it or there being too much or too little. It is what it is. So everybody who's got a cell phone, when the police roll up, you need to be shooting. Because not only does your footage do something to assist whoever the police is after, but we also be able to assist the police in doing their job more effectively and more safely. And I think that's going to help everybody.
Okay, we'll pass it on over to Brother Moore.
I agree. I could say I agree, 62 more times, but the fact of the matter is, I agree wholeheartedly. We must continue to record.
Yes.
Utilize the tools that we have. We are already oppressed people. We are already a poverty-stricken people. We are already marginalized in so many ways, financially, educationally. We have an opportunity to at least prevent ourselves from being murdered and gunned down in cold blood by the people who are sworn to protect us. And the only way that we can do that is by providing empirical data via imagery and audio. And we have the technology. So let us continue to do that.
Yes.
Every day, every time you see the police, pull out your camera.
Pull it out.
And let them know that we just want you to do a good job, officer. I don't want you to lose your job no more than I want him to lose his life.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
To the audience, I just want to let y'all know this is the Dream Team from Black Power Therapy. And peace and respect to your brothers. It was always an honor to even be in you guys' comfort zone because you guys are always spitting wisdom. And I just want to thank y'all for being on the show today. And peace and respect to y'all.
Thank you for having us,
Salute
sir.
the movement. Salute the movement.
All right. Right on.
Have a good night.
All right. You too, y'all. Peace.
All right, Robert.
Tune in next week